There's no way I can use such mediocre flowers in my classroom. Get more expensive-looking flowers? Honestly, you're such a useless daughter-in-law.
My mother-in-law Karen slams the flower with remaining buds onto the floor.
And another thing, it's your fault that the number of students has decreased recently. Hand out flyers and recruit new students. Got it? Don't come back until you have 30 people.
It was a complete tantrum, but I smiled and said understood. And then I didn't go home. I'm a woman in my 50s. My only son graduated from university and found a job successfully. That's when he started living on his own. I had an arranged marriage when I was 20. Curtis, my husband, is just an ordinary company employee with no notable achievements to brag about, earning a modest income due to seniority-based promotions. I think it's enough for the two of us. I worked as a cashier part-time for a few years to help with my son's tuition, but now I'm a full-time housewife. Karen runs a flower arrangement class and not only makes me work for free, but also blames me for everything. Her arrogance only intensified after my child-rearing duties settled down. My mornings start very early. I wake up before sunrise, prepare breakfast for Curtis. I drive a small wagon to the flower market to buy flowers for Karen's classroom. I would prefer to buy them at a flower shop, but Karen instructed me to buy them at the market to reduce expenses. The flowers I can buy are limited by the budget she gave me. She even gave me detailed instructions, like wanting a variety of flowers, so I negotiated for further discounts on leftover flowers. After taking measures to make the flowers last as long as possible, I prepare breakfast for Curtis and send him off. Once I finish the household chores, I immediately deliver the flowers to the classroom. I clean the classroom before the students arrive and then go to pick up Karen. Karen lives alone in a separate house on the same property. Initially, we lived with Karen, but soon after, Curtis's grandparents passed away and we moved into their house. While Karen gets ready, I take care of all the household chores at her place and also water the flowers she's growing. Even when the students arrive and the class starts, I'm not allowed to go home. I'm responsible for all the miscellaneous tasks related to running the class. Days when Karen's class ends in the morning are tolerable, but when there are 2 or more classes in a day, it's hell. Sometimes Karen skips lunch depending on her mood, and when I drop her off, she doesn't let me go home until late at night, giving me a lecture. By the way, Karen used to have her classes at home, but now she rents a room at the community center. And when I finally get released from Karen and return home, if I arrive later than Curtis, his dissatisfaction explodes.
What's the meaning of coming home later than the breadwinner? It's just because you're inefficient. Don't blame it on my mother. Food, bath, tea.
Nowadays, bathtubs can automatically fill up with hot water at the touch of a button, and you can even adjust the temperature. But Curtis doesn't even bother to press that button. I've asked him to put the dishes in the sink after eating, but he leaves them there on the table, using work or fatigue as excuses. He also doesn't put his clothes in the laundry basket, and leaves them lying where he took them off. I gather them up, do the laundry, and dry them with the bathroom dryer after I finish bathing. I like to hang them outside in the sun, but I come home at different hours every day, and there's no one to take them in if I hang them out. I asked Curtis to do it once, but Karen immediately heard about it and scolded me hysterically. Being scolded is the least of my worries. Karen uses a spare key that was made without my knowledge to invade my privacy, break my personal belongings, or even sell them without permission. Karen seems to think she hasn't been noticed, but my personal belongings have always been limited since I got married at the age of 20. Curtis has this idea that it's only natural for a wife to stay at home. He never bought me presents, not even clothes for outings or makeup, let alone accessories. Even after I got married, my parents celebrated my birthday and prepared gifts for me. It's only natural to notice if those things disappear or get broken. Karen's flower arrangement skills, which she believes revolve around herself, are far from impressive. Her arrangements are gaudy and flashy, completely ruining the natural beauty of the flowers. And she doesn't handle the flowers properly. Even if they're still usable and have buds that can bloom and be enjoyed, she throws them away because new flowers will be delivered the next day. I can't stand it when Karen treats the flowers like garbage. Those flowers were probably grown to be cherished. I believe that those who can bring out the beauty in flowers are worthy of making flower arrangement their profession. Karen clings to the only glory she has in the past and uses it for self-promotion. It seems she has participated in competitions a few times, but she has only won once. Karen takes pride in that award and boasts about it every chance she gets. I can't help but wonder if Karen was the only participant in that competition because her aesthetic is just terrible. She has absolutely no awareness of being in a position to teach others. Either she doesn't know how to teach, or she has no intention of doing so because her words don't seem to get across at all.
Well, the rest is up to you.
Again?
You see, after I teach you the basics, it's up to the students to think and create on their own. How many years have you been my subordinate? You're useless and slow-witted.
After about 10 minutes of starting the class and talking about the theme, she goes off to hang out somewhere else. She casually returns when the students' works are almost finished. Almost finished, there are students who can't understand the instructions themselves, and others who get stuck and feel troubled along the way. It was my role to speak for Karen and convey what she wanted to tell those students or give advice to those whose progress had stalled. But Karen doesn't think I'm doing any of that. In the first place, she doesn't think I understand flower arrangement. So, every time Karen comes back at the right timing, she says this to the students who have produced good results. "Oh my, as expected, it's all thanks to my way of teaching." She mistakenly praises herself. "You've become so skilled, you should be grateful to me." The students who are told that look puzzled, but Karen is in a good mood, so she doesn't care at all about the students' feelings. I think there are people among the students who are told that look puzzled, but Karen is in a good mood, so she doesn't care at all about the students' feelings. I think there are people among the students, including myself, who want to laugh at Karen's grand misunderstanding. Even in such a situation, I find time and continue doing what I love before getting married. That's when my heart feels most at ease and I can forget about unpleasant things. It's something I can't do without. Karen's flower arrangement classes are divided into beginner, intermediate, and advanced levels, each consisting of 12 sessions. Since many students go through the beginner and intermediate levels, if we don't constantly recruit new students, we might end up with no students in 6 months. There was a time when the maximum capacity of a classroom would quickly fill up, and we even had classes 3 or 4 times a day, including evening sessions. However, in recent years, the number of students has drastically decreased, and there have been days with 0 inquiries for several months now. It's because you keep buying cheap flowers that the students are quitting. How many years have you been going to the market? Don't you have any connections that can help you get by with just your face? Do you have any joy in your life?
I'm sorry.
Instead of apologizing, go out and recruit as many students as possible. Stand in front of the station and distribute flyers.
Now, hurry up and go. But flyers? You're so dumb. Just make them on your computer. You're younger than me, so making flyers should be a piece of cake for you, right? Create them in 5 minutes. Print them in 10 minutes. Don't come back until you've grabbed 30 people.
However, instead of heading straight to the station after leaving Karen's house, I went back to my own place. I packed the bare minimum of my belongings and left the house where I had been living with Curtis. In reality, my parents had always told me, you can come back home anytime. When I got married, I left home with a certain determination, believing that I should make a proper commitment. So, I thought it wouldn't be easy to go back home so easily. However, now that my child-rearing days are over, there is nothing holding me back. Taking advantage of my parents' words, I sought temporary refuge in my hometown. The arranged marriage that was brought up to me was a request to save face for the person involved, and I compromised by agreeing to meet them. I thought the other person would be just a formality, but contrary to my expectations and my parents, they liked me very much. Pressured by those around me saying the woman's happiness is being desired and getting married, I decided to get married. However, Karen only wanted me to be her servant-like daughter-in-law. When I realized it, I was already pregnant, and I endured it for over 20 years, not wanting to have a fatherless child. Now that I'm ready to be released from that, I no longer need to endure the mistreatment from Karen and Curtis. My parents said I could live with them without any concerns, but after leaving home for over 30 years, it felt a bit too late to go back. However, I'm worried about my aging parents, so I had been looking for a suitable place near my hometown to move to. After healing from all the exhaustion and stress, I began the process of moving to a new apartment. As I was relaxing after finishing the move, I noticed that there were tons of missed calls and emails from Karen and Curtis. I had set my phone to silent mode to avoid being disturbed during the moving process, so I didn't notice them at all. Even if the ringer was on, I don't think I would have answered their calls. After all, they would only hinder the moving process. I roughly knew the contents of the emails, so I didn't bother checking them one by one. I was considering deleting all of them when I received a message from my parents saying, "Your mother-in-law and husband are here." I headed to my parents' home to confront them. When I arrived, Curtis said, "A wife who leaves her husband is unbelievable. Come back right now." He forcefully grabbed my arm, trying to drag me out of my parents' house. Ouch, let go. If there are marks on my arm, I'll press charges for assault. What a terrible wife you are, suing your own spouse. Just like children who need discipline, it seems you need to be re-educated as a daughter-in-law. The two of them were relentless in their demand for me to return. When I told them I wouldn't go back, Karen seized the opportunity to insult me, calling me a useless wife. "You're just playing pretend or something, right? Wasn't it that new special we saw recently?
Please fill out yours now."
I showed them the divorce papers that I had prepared. And then,
How is a good-for-nothing like you going to survive? You're an ignorant woman who can't do anything without my son.
A servant-like hag like you, can't survive without leeching off someone. You've been by my side for 30 years, and you still don't understand that? Listen up. The only reason you're still alive is because of me.
after their intimidating remarks, Karen and Curtis laughed triumphantly as if they had won.
The ones who are good for nothing are you two.
I showed them my bank passbook.
While you've been looking down on me as useless, I managed to save $300,000. With this amount, I think I can manage my immediate living expenses. But according to you, am I a woman who can't survive without leeching off you?
No wonder the quality of our meals has been poor lately. Were you stealing the living expenses?
What an audacious wife you are. I've chosen an outrageous woman.
Huh, why do you have such thoughts? How self-important do you think you are, you despicable pair?
During the 30 years I had been working as an unpaid worker at Karen's flower arrangement class, I had been recycling the flowers she carelessly discarded and gradually establishing myself. I didn't charge money for the reused flowers. I wanted people to see them still blooming beautifully. So I placed fresh flower arrangements in local shopping streets, hospitals, and facilities. My parents ran a flower arrangement class at our home, and both of them held the title of teacher. We even had a family member who was the head of a school in the flower arrangement world. So I had been surrounded by flowers since I was a child, and was familiar with the world of flower arrangement. Especially after I started helping my mother, I became more deeply involved in the field. Well, it was through those connections that the arranged marriage proposal with Curtis came up. They were looking for a prospective bride who had some knowledge of flowers so that she could be useful. I just happened to fit that criteria. Karen's mistake was that when she chose me to be her son's bride, she didn't check my skills in flower arrangement. She assumed I was a complete amateur in floral arrangement. At first, my acquaintances' shops offered jobs for me. But through rumors and word of mouth, more and more requests came in, and people started asking to pay for my services. Once my arrangements were displayed in front of the city hall and civic halls, more people saw them, and I started receiving requests from other cities and even other prefectures. Saw them and receiving requests from other cities and prefectures? Wedding venues became a major source of income for me, receiving orders not only for flower arrangements, but also for bridal bouquets. Since Karen and Curtis had control over most aspects of my life, I couldn't take on a large number of orders. However, after diligently saving for 30 years, I managed to accumulate $300,000, which would be enough to support myself for the time being, even after divorcing Curtis.
Divorce me. If you refuse, I'll crush you with all my might.
How can you, who has been under the supervision of me and my mother, crush me?
I will sue you for the numerous harassments you and your mother have subjected me to and claim compensation.
It was just giving you some attention.
Is that so? Don't you think there might be recorded audio and video evidence?
You're stupid. Where did you get the money to buy such equipment? Wait, don't tell me. That $300,000.
I was able to buy something with decent performance. The recordings are so clear that you won't be able to deny anything. The videos even capture your mouth movements perfectly.
I also informed them that I had evidence in the form of photographs showing Karen destroying my personal belongings and videos of that incident. Are you okay with your beloved mommy becoming a criminal? I know. I have recorded you calling out for mommy in your sleep, and I can distribute it to your workplace. What will you do? Come on, decide now. I imitated the tough guy style from an anime I happened to watch while I was taking a break at my parents' house. I guess they could call it giving them a piece of my mind. Surprisingly, Curtis, who was actually a coward, seemed scared by my tough act and reluctantly signed the divorce papers, almost in tears. We were able to settle the division of assets properly. Afterward, all the students left Karen's flower arrangement class, since I was no longer there. Those students started coming to the flower arrangement class I opened. The students knew better than anyone else that it was me who had taught Karen's class. Karen, with her pride intact, couldn't admit her own lack of ability in this situation. And without me, the target of her frustration, her anger turned towards her son, Curtis.
It's because you married such a strange woman that my pride has been shattered. I've even lost my job. Take responsibility.
Huh? It was you who told me to marry that woman. You're just a careless old hag. Cut it out. I'm the laughingstock at work because my wife ran away.
As a result of their constant quarrels, day and night their family broke apart. Since I had been solely responsible for all the household chores, it quickly turned into a hoarder's house after I left, according to the rumors I heard. The reputation of my flower arrangement class was excellent, and by chance it was. It was featured on a TV program about walking in neighborhoods, which led to frequent introductions in magazines and on television. I cherished a friendly and cheerful atmosphere with my students. And surrounded by beautiful flowers, my income increased, bringing me happiness every day.